The length of his big toe is astronomical. I nearly said something.
I noticed that, but I didn't comment.
Do you remember them banana foam sweets? Like one of them. Massive, like little mini surfboard. I was like, why is his big toe so long?
I would never post a picture of my feet.
No, absolutely never. And I ain't even got bad feet.
Yeah.
My missus does my feet like twice a week.
She does them? What do you mean?
Yeah, like pedicure. I just like when she's got this thing that gets down your toes and gets down the side and gets the fluff out. And it feels like
fluff out your toes.
Have you never cleaned down the side of your toes, you scruff?
I wash my feet when I have a shower, but
so do I. But you don't go inside your toenails, and if you do, you're a mad.
The worst thing I've had, and it wasn't even bad, was standing in the train station. There's a group of kids, and they just kept going, "Dan." And I turned around, and they kept turning around.
That's a good one. I wrote that. I do write that.
Mate, they must have done it about 15 times.
Yeah, but did you keep looking every time?
When someone shouts your name, it's so hard not to turn around. And they kept doing it. They kept going.
I love the story of how you and Tiff met.
That's funny.
I feel like we should put that in.
That's a whole podcast episode for itself.
Have we got time for that now?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
It's only a 2-minute story.
You told me a quick version.
Tiff's dad was a big fan of the channel.
Okay.
He must be your oldest subscriber.
No, it's not true, man. That's such a non-story. I have subscribers from children to honestly, some of the lovely old people I speak to.
I'd love to see the demographic.
Shut up, man. It's actually so spread out. Anyway, so her dad was a big fan of the channel, which is lovely. And Tiff and her sister thought it would be a great idea to get a birthday message from me to say, "Hi, Rog, happy birthday."
Don't give it away for free.
Not anymore.
You have to pay for that now.
I really want to say something.
But anyway, and then me and Tiff started talking. This was about sort of playoff final time. Me and Tiff got talking. And then we went our separate ways for a bit. And then we got together. Now we've been together for 4 years.
Are you calling it the Villa 5?
Yeah, what are you going to call it?
Villa Social.
Oh, it's an S.
Oh, yeah.
Are we having a fake screen there that's just like...
Shall I put the... If you click your fingers now, I'll put it up.
Bang!
Okay.
Like that.
Thank you for that, mate.
Yeah, sick, man.
This is the first episode of the Villa Social, our monthly Aston Villa podcast, where I've basically pulled in all the big hitters in hope of getting some audience.
Hitters?
So welcome, everybody. James Rushton, Max Stokes, Dan Bardell, and Ty Bracey. Every episode, we're going to have like a big subject to talk about, like a theme of the show. Today, the first one will be Champions League ticket prices. Surprise to absolutely nobody. Before we get into that, though, we'll always have a bit of a preamble about the season so far, where we are at the moment. So 3 games in.
Can we just clarify that none of us are getting paid for this, and your company's going to make YouTube revenue?
Oh, well.
You turned it off.
What, if you remember correctly, what I did say is if you want to take a segment of this, you post it to 1874, post it to Villa on Tour, make your own ad revenue. Start the season then, 6 points. That's better than I thought.
I'm really happy, to be fair. Yeah, I did think it would be. I guess, echoes of the first game of the season last year, so I kind of kept my expectations a little bit low in that regard. But, to only drop points to Arsenal in a game that we most definitely should have got something from. Great start to the season, and we've got 4 very winnable games coming up as well. So I'm 6 out of 9, fine by me.
I just want to go back to when, after we beat West Ham, like I was in Dortmund and I was, watching that, and it wasn't great. You saw things where there, obviously Watkins hadn't played a single minute of pre-season, and we were like, it's not really flowing, like we're not really seeing any patterns here or really anything. So I was a bit nervous. I think everybody was saying it might be a slow start, prepare yourself for this, but I tell you what, that West Ham game, it was absolutely brilliant, and we turned it on. It felt like that coming away from that West Ham game, going to Arsenal, like you just said, Ty should have absolutely got something there, and then that Leicester game could have been a banana skin, and got the 3 points there as well. So
everyone was a bit worried as well, wasn't they, with West Ham, because they've done some good business in the window, but
never do well there as well.
We know that, having good players is only one part of the equation, isn't it? They've got a new manager coming as well. So, yeah, man, over the moon with that.
Best thing about that first game was, like, obviously, you've got a new midfield. Kamara's injured at the moment. Louise isn't there anymore, and you're kind of worried about a few things around that in midfield. But like the first set piece of the season, Douglas Luiz took all the set pieces last season. You've got Tielemans taking them this, and then you've got your other new midfielder heading in the Tielemans set piece. Like, it was just a brilliant start, and obviously that helps in the first game, doesn't it? If you go 1-0 up really, really early, like we did, it settles you down, and we could have been 3 up at half time in that game. And then Arsenal, case of missed chances, but I thought we played probably better in that game than we did in either of the games we beat them last season. And like Max says, a tricky game at Leicester, but again, you go there and you win 2-1 with Onana and Duran both scoring again, and I think we're in a in a really good place. Especially, people would have been a bit nervous after the transfer window shut, going into that Leicester game. If you win that game after the transfer window shut, everyone kind of forgets about that a little bit.
Yeah. We'll talk about transfer window in a sec. Let's talk about Ollie Watkins very briefly. We'll have all have done our own podcasts, you'll have done your own tweets, you'll have done your own newsletters. I'm sure we're all on the kind of same page that he's in the right place, he's on the end of chances, it's just a little bit of rustiness, not having the pre-season, the Euros. He goes through patchy periods where he doesn't score, then he scores. Like, none of us are worried about Watkins.
No, like last season, people were saying the same things. I think there was a tweet mocking him about his XG or something, and it was just like, just give him time. Every season, just give him time, and Ollie Watkins always delivers, doesn't
he? Like the fifth or sixth game.
6 games, I think it was last season. He's injured at the moment, so he's playing with an injury. He had he didn't have a pre-season. It's not even disruptive, is it? He didn't have a pre-season. He didn't really play loads for England either, did he? So, people say, you come back, you have your few weeks off. But for England, he didn't play that many minutes. So he's missed kind of a lot of minutes that he could have got in terms of for England and in pre-season. So the guy hasn't played 90 minutes since May.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be a little bit of ring rust, isn't there? But he's still getting into positions, and that come the end of the season, we'll be talking about him hitting 20 plus goals again in all competitions. It just doesn't bother me at all.
It's not a shock to anybody either, really, is it? Like, this isn't like, what, Ollie Watkins doesn't do this, he scores all the time. Like, we know this, and ultimately it doesn't matter. We've now got a striker on the bench who's come on in the first game and the game just gone and just scored the winner. So really, we support Villa, not players. It doesn't really matter.
We're at the stage where it's like, Duran has to start.
Not from me, but I've took some flack online in saying that we should 100% get behind Watkins. He for me is always going to be our starting striker out of him and Duran, but regardless, for me that's just how it is, and I think it's important that we get behind him. For me, Ollie Watkins' biggest critic is Ollie Watkins. There's nobody it affects more, him not scoring, than him, and you can really see that. And the players have said it in interviews as well, that they have to give him a pat on the back and say, keep your head up. And I think that's really important that we all get behind him, because we know when he's on it, he's on it. It's as simple as that for me.
We're in a good position now because Duran obviously seems to have sorted his head out a little bit. He's moved from next door to here. He's got himself out of that area. The problems of living next door to Dan Rolinson. He's got himself away from that now. And
I love that there's no context to that at all. I'm not going to add any.
Okay, because he's settled down now, hasn't he? Like he knows he's going to be at Villa probably for the whole season. I think, but the good thing for Villa now is that there's a little bit more trust there now in the way that he started the season. So it would have been previous that Duran would have started the Conference League games and you knew Watkins was starting in the league. With the Champions League fixtures, it might be that Duran plays a Premier League game at home to Everton, for example, and then Watkins is kept back for the Champions League. And I think now there's that little bit more trust there. Duran will get what he wants, and he'll get more minutes in the Premier League than he did last season.
Does anyone care about talking about the transfer window?
Happy to.
Go on then.
If we had no communication, which, may I add, we have absolutely no entitlement as fans to know about, really, in terms of the struggles that are faced, because you don't really hear it from other clubs. But
like the PSR stuff, you're on.
Yeah, and Monchi and Damien have gone to great depths to help everybody understand of what it takes to get those deals done and what we can and can't do, and where we're a little bit restricted. So I feel very grateful that we've had that insight from those guys and those articles going out of how it works, because I think it's good to know how it works as well, because the more you know, the less frustrating it will be when you understand the circumstances. It's not a case of we've gone, oh yeah, we want João Felix, don't bid, just don't do it. Nah, it's all right, we've only been looking at him for a year, but let's just not put a bid in. Like, do you know what I mean? So just to have that communication is massive, and obviously there's other areas at the minute which we'll get into later of where the communication hasn't been as good, but I'm really happy that we got that insight from those guys of the challenges that they face.
I think Damien Vidagani speaks incredibly well, absolutely, and them coming out really does highlight it, because we don't know, like you said, we don't know everything that goes on with PSR, and it's hard to get our heads around. We've got our own lives, it's not up to us to think about what goes on and bid whatever. But that was really interesting. I think I'm quite happy with the transfer window, because I'm absolutely one who would love nothing more than Villa to win a trophy, and I think the squad depth is 100% there now. People, last year it was, I've got Everton in the Carabao Cup, don't worry about it, we'll lose. And I think we all sort of recognised that Emery wasn't that fussed about the Cups, which is infuriating to me. Obviously, Europe was new last season, so it was hard. But this season, I think we've got a real chance in there. We've got Wickham in the Carabao Cup in a couple of weeks, and, you know, you've got players like John Duran who's going to be playing in that game. Players who are, you know, you look at that bench in the Premier League, and it's so strong. Buendia coming back as well. You know, Luca Dean, Ian Maatson, that's two. You look at that left-back situation, there's so much strength there. So in the Cups, why not have a run? You could change the whole squad and we've still got a good chance. So I'm all over that.
Can't afford for us to get to a cup final.
That's true.
God help us if we get to a cup final.
You get corporate anyway, mate, so don't worry about it.
He's got a lovely turn of phrase.
Look, if I don't make a Dan prawn sandwich Bardell reference, then it's not a podcast.
Probably going corporate once a season.
That would come.
But reject it 37 other times.
Rejected it once already, Ty.
Luca Dean, for an example, like now he's got some competition with Maatson, but he's just had a call up to a France squad full of confidence, and that's exactly what we need. We need those players pushing people through our positions, and I can imagine as a footballer it's probably not the nicest feeling when they bring in someone in the same position as you. It's probably like, you know, in your head, anything can go on in your head at that point of, is this my replacement, you know? So just to have that healthy competition, and, you know, it doesn't look like as it is that Maatson is a replacement. It's Damien and Monchi said that we need to get to a point where we've got 2 starting 11s, and I think we're quite close to that.
Yeah, we are. I tweeted out the other day, or said it on a podcast. Like the 2 11s, they've got enough now to change it and still be really strong. I think Luca Dean deserves a massive amount of credit, because the last 2 summers you probably thought he'll end up going, but he doesn't want to go. He wants to stay at Villa.
Good on him.
Yeah, because he thinks, well, actually, I played a part in us getting Champions League football last season, so I want to stay and play in the Champions League. And he's playing really, really well. I was critical of him at the start of last season, but he's completely turned me around. He's been absolutely brilliant. I think the squad's well set. I think what they do well is they just, and people maybe don't realise this, they get a lot of multifunctional players in that can play in different positions. That really, really helps you with squad balance. And yeah, we maybe are 1 or 2 short, but if you stockpile players for the sake of it, that's when you get a bad dressing room, because people are unhappy, they're not playing. We're not going to get that at Villa, and I think, like Ty said, it's just refreshing to hear people at the club come out and speak about it, because I'm sure they would have liked to have got 1 or 2 more in, but it's just not possible for the 2 sets of regulations that we know at the moment, and they've done what they've done. And, you know, I think Emery's happy, so if he's happy, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah. John Townley said on a couple of recent episodes that he reckons Villa have got the 2 best left backs in the league and the 2 best number 9s.
What, in terms of
depth, like the starter and the backup. So like Maatson and Dean, Watkins and Duran.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Like Man City have got like Haaland and
no one. They didn't replace Alvarez.
Isak and Wilson.
Yeah,
clear of that.
We're clear of that. And do you know what I mean? Like, they've all got obviously good strikers, but Chelsea, Jackson, and I mean a million players. But do you know what I mean? Like out and out number 9s. I think the left back one's probably slightly more interesting, because Dean is absolutely capable of playing
100%.
in the Premier League, and Maatson is like the next best thing in Europe, exciting young talent, etc. So the left back one requires a bit more thought. But
and Liverpool have got Robertson and Timashasa, who are both really, really good.
Yeah. So it's not a wild shout.
No, it's not at all.
That kind of shows where Villa are, I suppose.
It's weird to even be talking about that, though, isn't it? Like how far we've come, and you're talking about we've got the best depth up front and at left back in the league. Like, that's the fact we're even talking about. That's just mental.
Who would have thought, boys?
Yeah.
Not me.
The amount of pods we've all recorded together talking about
Samatta.
Like Neil Taylor.
It's just nice not to be complaining every week, though, isn't it? And just like, why is he
we'll
doing
get
that? I mean, in terms of on the field stuff, do you know what I mean?
On the pitch, Villa, I would not level any criticism at them on the pitch at all. The football department of Villa have worked wonders in the last 18 months, and that's why I found it a bit frustrating when people were getting annoyed on transfer deadline day and stuff, because I think the club a little bit makes a rod for its own back. Not their fault, because they get stuff done so early, which is the way that it should be. Players get a full pre-season, but then at the end of the window the fans get tetchy because we haven't signed anyone, but we've already done the bulk of what we wanted to do at that point, which is good organisation.
It's different. So if you did no signings, then you sign like a Nano like the week of deadline day.
Yeah, that's panic,
on
isn't
deadline
it?
Day, you go, oh, it feels good now, even though it's exactly the same business.
For as bad as they are off the pitch that we're going to come on to, on the pitch, there's very little to have a go at over this last 18 months. That we were 17th when Emery and everyone at the club picked us up, and now we're talking about playing Bayern Munich at home in the first Champions League game at Villa Park. It's ridiculous, really.
And the club wanted to do more. If you'd have said to anybody when you sign a Nano in July, whatever, that's your last signing, even the club, I think, would have gone, well, no chance. Like, surely we have to do more. But
I don't think it was the intention for him to be the last signing.
No,
I
not
don't,
at all.
and I think it heavily depended on people wanting players to leave. But you know, someone going off on loan isn't exactly a leaver, and you know, Emery didn't really expand on one in, one out, meaning does a loan count as one out? Are we talking about loans here, Brunei? Can you expand a little bit on that? But he didn't, and so
we saw
obviously
as well, didn't we?
Well,
That
what was
like
it,
that
how many
a weird
loans in
one.
total? 13? 14 including Dendoncker.
Dendoncker went after the window shut as well, which after our window shut, which doesn't help. And you don't know the portion of wages that are being paid. Like so this is when we did make a signing at the end of a transfer window. It was Dendoncker and Bednarek
for £90,000 a week.
Yeah, and that's pure panic station. So it's almost like people want things for the sake of it sometimes, but it's not going to make you any better.
Yeah.
Dendoncker, as much as I don't think he's a bad player, and he's has been useful at times. 90 grand a week. We can't really be paying Dendoncker that, can we now? But what happened?
I think if I was just going to add a little bit of balance on the transfer window, I think it's been good. Just one thing I'd be a little bit worried about is the defence. I think it was clear that at the end, the one thing we were going for was a centre-back, right-back. The Gertrude links were there. We all knew that. They probably, obviously, like you said, wanted to do that. I'm a little bit concerned. Obviously, they wanted to get Diego Carlos out again. That was pretty clear. That's one area of the pitch where I think there might potentially be issues. In an ideal world, I would have liked to see Carlos go out. I hear that he got man of the match against Arsenal twice. What about the rest of the 36 games? I'm not totally convinced. I think if there is an injury and we don't know about Mings, that's somewhere I'd be a tiny bit concerned.
I'm less worried about that. I think Bogard coming in, and I think he's obviously got a bit of trust in Bogard and Swinkle, so you might see them. At times the fact you throw Bogard,
we need though.
Yeah, but they're not going to be unless they play, are they?
Yeah.
So Bogard, like any player, like remember when Rodgers first came in, we were like, not sure about this guy tactically. That's Bogard's first Premier League start, and he was far from perfect.
There's promise,
100%. But I know if he plays, he'll get better, and I know with more training with the first team, he'll get better. Still, the biggest area of concern for me, and it really is minor, goalkeeper. Unfortunately, I like him as a person, but it's showing that when he comes into the team, generally we ship a lot of goals.
Yeah, what about Gauche?
We don't know, do we?
Some says he wrestled 6 crocodiles at once back home.
It's unknown, isn't it, Gauche? We don't know. Again, it's a big ask to throw someone in with his level of experience into a Premier League or a Champions League game.
I think it's bizarre he didn't play that Crystal Palace game in the last game of the season, Gauche.
That was perfect opportunity.
Exactly, and he played a few pre-season games, he did. But
did you see him in a pre-season game? Because I didn't watch much of our pre-season.
No, I think he played in America, didn't he? He might have played against Bilbao or something.
Yeah, I think he played a couple.
Yeah, I'm not sure though. We just don't know. But
He wasn't back. No.
It's interesting. Emery clearly likes Olsen and clearly sees something in him, which nobody else does. Which is,
it's where you say, we always say, look at the end of the day, we just trust Emery with what he says.
But also, we've got our own eyes.
That's the one thing where I think, I'm not sure I'm saying the same thing.
The one thing we also need to take into account is, I'm not saying we play a little bit of a different style of football to every other team, because a lot of teams play out from the back, but our goalkeepers are heavily involved in touching the ball.
He can't do that.
We fully use 11 players. So I think we need to understand how good Emmy actually is, and that isn't just him saving goals, penalties.
It's mentality as well.
It's everything.
Having 3 people running at you, blocking your passing lanes, and you've got someone coming at you, and you still find a pass. That isn't easy to do.
He's the sweeping as well. He sweeps so well. Like, that's a really underrated facet of his game.
And one day he's going to go to sweep and headbutt someone and get a red. It's going to happen one day.
Has he ever been sent off for Villa?
No, I don't think so.
They're not.
He got like technical sending off against.
He's technically had 2 yellow cards and not been sent off.
That was hilarious.
And won a penalty shootout.
That's a pub quiz question,
That's
isn't it?
just the most Aston Villa thing that could ever happen.
That's still a stupid rule.
He's going to win the Ballon d'Or anyway, isn't he?
I hope so.
Some weird names on that list, but
it's a really fine balance with the transfer window though, because I get you need a squad, obviously you need options, but there's always a lot of well, if so and so gets injured, we're in trouble. Part of that is if you take out a signing for most clubs, they're going to be in trouble. But you come back to what you said before, you can't just stockpile players for the sake of it. We also don't have the manoeuvrability with the restrictions to do that anyway. But what if the player doesn't get injured? We need another centre-back because Conser gets injured. What if he doesn't? And then you've got this player around there on 100 grand a week doing nothing.
Yeah, you can't just buy 7th, 8th choice players. I think we've done that in the past, and it's quite sad seeing signing on a deadline day Jordan Barrio.
I'm surprised we didn't go for a loan. I'm surprised we didn't use a loan option.
But then again, you look to Ludwig Augustinson and Jan Bednarek, and they just don't get used.
Yeah.
Even if it is a situation,
but
they don't
there
get
was
used.
some good options available, like
Chalobah
Trevor
was
Chalobah.
That was the one I thought we might do.
No, but I said to Hopkins looking to go one on Twitter, I said, I think he's going to go to us or Palace, and he went to Palace. 'Cause it's easy, isn't it? You know, it's down the road
London,
from...
yeah.
staying
Did
in
Chelsea
London.
see us as a rival as well, potentially?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Well, Crystal Palace more the rival for the fight for, you know, scraping top 10, but here we are. I don't think they'll get Europe this year.
Ticket pricing then, the big debate of the show. I've got some notes. Like, I don't want this show to be scripted in any way, but I've got like the comparisons of ticket prices to other clubs and all that kind of stuff. So I'll get into that in a second. Just general kind of raw reaction first of all. Is there anybody that justifies the price that it is? Do you think, oh well, it's Champions League, it is what it is?
No.
No. Ty?
No.
£79 for season ticket holders, 94 in Zone 1 for non-season ticket holders, 85 in Zone 4. What do you make of that, Dan? I'll start with you first.
I just think all round, and people make a fair point that, you know, no one really showed outrage at the general admission tickets that are sky high for Category A games. Category A or Category 1 games. So there's a lot of different things going on at the moment, but obviously I think the Champions League tickets is the ones that push people over the edge. I think the club has got away with a lot of very questionable decisions over the last 12 to 18 months because of how good they've been on the pitch.
Yeah,
but there's only so much that people can take, and I think what's happened since this season has started in terms of, you know, going up to Villa Park and it just being a shambles in terms of the ground. You know, you shouldn't be walking out with wee on your feet. You shouldn't get there and, you know, bought a season ticket and the seat doesn't exist, and a load of other horror stories that I've heard. So if you couple that with the Champions League price announcement, they've just pushed people too far now, and people have had enough. They're pricing people out. They're pricing families out. Because if you've got a family of 4+, or even 3+, how are you supposed to afford that in modern society with the way that the world is? I think they're just tone deaf, and they've got this completely wrong. We were talking before we came on, like, even if they'd have put the Bayern and Juve games at those prices and then maybe discounted the Celtic and the Bologna games, you'd have thought, okay,
Like
they've tried to do something. They've priced high for the two massive games, and the two ones that aren't as big, they've took the price down. Last year they got off to a bad start with ticketing with that Everton Carabao Cup game, but they kind of rectified that as it went on with the Conference League and the bundles for the group games. Why are we not doing bundles again like Celtic? It's like they've done something good and they've thought, no, I'm not sure about that. Can't be doing good things. We need to take these for every penny that they've got, and it's just bad decision after bad decision. You know, they're killing us every day now. The disabled thing.
Daniel, PSR.
It's not that they're hiding behind Emery. And they're hiding behind PSR at the moment, because taking 10, 15, 20 quid off those ticket prices, that isn't going to stop Villa being able to buy a player if they charge the fans more, like, or charge the fans less. Those things are not related. They're not big enough.
Some of this is a rules problem as well.
The rules are a
football problem. It's not just specifically that. It should definitely be capped. I would like a world in which match day revenue is not part of PSR. Then you don't even have this excuse.
Or PSR's a thing in
general.
general.
Yeah, obviously you get rid of the whole thing or you tweak it. But like Villa, what was it, like 16 million in match day revenue last year or something like that? Obviously we have to get that up. Like Tottenham, Man United are a million miles away from us in terms of match day revenue. But then that shouldn't count towards PSR. Then just take that away. Then you don't have this excuse of ticket prices can go up and we'll fleece the fans.
Yeah, but a lot of that you've got to understand is they've all got substantially bigger stadiums than us, but our stadium expansion's got put on hold. So why do the fans have to suffer? Because stadium expansion's been put on hold.
Chelsea's are also way ahead of us, aren't they, as well? And their stadium's similar. But like these clubs have had years of being up there and we haven't.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's Newcastle though, right? You look at what Newcastle charged last year, and they're a club that are in a similar position to us. That was their first year in the Champions League for a long, long time. They were trying to break in and challenge the elite. They didn't rip the fans off. They're struggling with PSR, but they capped them at 55, which I would say is perfectly reasonable. Like Newcastle, for all, like, and I get it, with their ownership will get criticised and, you know, how they are and stuff. They haven't ripped the fans off. I think the fans get treated quite well at Newcastle from what I know and what I hear. I don't feel the same at Villa, and they broadcast themselves as this big family club. But families aren't going to be able to go to Villa soon if they carry on the way that they're going. The season ticket rises, I can just about stomach that, because I think for a long, long time, even though we were rubbish, Villa season tickets were a reasonable price, I would say. Mine was probably 3 years ago, £540.
Yeah.
That's reasonable.
You spend that on a T-shirt now. It's all good.
Not anymore. But, that was reasonable. But no, my ticket's now 900-ish.
Is it actually?
Pounds. Yeah, my ticket's now £900.
So
I was on TalkSport last night and they were like, Jason couldn't do it, which I get he has to do, is try and offer a bit of balance and saying like...
Max, are you in the upper as well?
Yeah, mate.
You're
Yeah.
900.
780, I think.
Oh, yeah, Max is under 16s, isn't he? So
He's
Not anymore, mate. I wish.
But like they were saying, like the club they have to like make revenue. The fans have to chip in if they're to improve and get bigger. But I think with the season ticket prices and ticket prices in general, we've already chipped in. Merchandise sales seem to be through the roof. You can't walk through the city centre without seeing a Villa Champions League shirt. And I know we've got to say the club and things like that, but Chris Heck is very, very happy to come on and, we're making this much in revenue from sponsorship. But he comes on and he makes all these grand statements about these positive things, and he's had a lot of praise, and I've sat there and thought, is this really justified? But now things have come out and it's not great. The fans are upset. Where is he? Why isn't he coming out and explaining himself? The comms team can't put anything out unless Villa change anything. So unless it changes, we're not going to hear from the club. I'd love an explanation from Chris Heck as to why he feels the need to charge.
But he's on annual leave, mate.
No, I know.
As we film now, the buying tickets are out and the prices.
Yeah, mine's come out this morning because I ticked the box.
Yeah,
to say
mine have come out. I didn't even realise I ticked the box. So that was
Dan, just to let you know, it's not your podcast. Do you want to give someone else a go?
Ty had you had your 25 minutes. I was just having mine.
Let me dash through all this other bit of info first of all before we get into it. The most expensive Liverpool ticket for a Champions League fixture is 61 in the main stand, and in the Cop it's 44. Which is
not bad.
Great price.
So that's where we've got it wrong as well, because our Cop is the most expensive seats.
Yeah.
The whole end's like zone 1 or 2, right?
Yeah,
so
the zones as well. Why is zone 1 and 2 the same?
1 and 2 are the same, and 3 or 4 are the same, basically.
That's what they're saying. Like they're the same standard of seats. Zone 2 shouldn't be playing the same as Zone 1, should they? Because they don't in the Premier League.
No. Man City's is 72.50. Celtic, one of you mentioned about the 4-game package. All 4 of their fixtures is 184 for an adult, which is 46 quid a month.
Incredible value.
How are they buying players?
Just do a bundle. I think 200 quid, maybe, and 250 a bit much.
That was my
that'd
thing
still
on
be
Twitter
60 quid a ticket.
I couldn't quite work out what would be a good price, which is mad. But if it was 60 quid straight out the bat, that's 240 for all 4. If you did a bundle for 200, that's 50 a game. I'd have gone 4 games straight away. I mean, I could have done it today.
100%.
Whereas now I'm thinking, I don't think I'll go to all 4. I think I'll pick and choose.
It's taking the shine off it a little bit. Like, just take yourselves back to what game did we clean? Was it when Man City beat Tottenham? And it was the Players Awards evening.
Yeah.
And can you remember the feeling then?
Even the draw a couple of weeks ago.
Exactly. It was phenomenal. The draw, absolutely buzzing. You got Bayern Munich. It's just obviously we'll all go to Villa Park against Bayern Munich. And the thing is, we will go if you're able to go, and we'll be buzzing. But it takes that shine off a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's so sad because it's been 41 years.
It will affect the atmosphere.
What's different as well, Newcastle last year, like they're slightly different. It's one club city. There's like this community kind of thing there. But they go into theirs last year with like the group of death, but they're all buzzing, they're cheering slide tackles. Like it's a massive thing. We're going into our Champions League campaign thinking this is tainted a little bit. It's taken the shine off of it. Where we should be going into the first game like absolutely buzzing.
Yeah.
And maybe on the day it'll be different, but as of right now, the build up to it just feels like.
But like you'll go to every away. Yeah. Well, you will probably will as well if you qualify.
I can afford to after.
And if you can afford to. But like tickets are capped for a while, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the fans that come to Villa Park, Bayern fans, Juve fans, their tickets
are half price.
And then we're paying double.
Yeah.
If you're a Celtic fan, surely there's a chance you can get the train back there and back and your ticket, and it'd be just slightly more than I'll be paying to walk down there.
I saw something yesterday where you can fly to Bologna and probably get a meal over there from Birmingham or wherever, and probably watch it for cheaper than it would be to go 3 miles up the road and watch it at Villa.
And have a bully pie that's rock hard.
That's the other
and
thing,
a pint that tastes like piss.
Well, exactly. Yeah, we're not paying for anything. Forget the football. We've talked about that. We're not actually paying for anything. You know where we sit down. The toilets we've got less access to toilets. The catering has never improved.
Mate, Hollow is exactly the same.
Yeah, and I imagine it is all around the ground. Simon sits in the upper north, and that's not fit for purpose. What are we paying for? You're right. They are just hiding behind what we're seeing on the pitch, which makes you wonder. What happens if suddenly we go terrible? Unai leaves for whatever reason and things do go sour? Obviously, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to think about it. But come on,
zero goodwill, isn't there?
Yeah,
I think if they priced it fairly, when things don't go your way, you've got
Villa fans going to be on it like that.
Yeah,
and
but if they
rightly
were
so.
thoughtful with it, like last year was very thoughtful, like 80 quid for 3 games. They could have doubled that, probably even tripled it, and we'd have spent a lot of money, but we'd have also saved on this.
The Champions League gets us more money than the Conference League anyway.
And there's
Through,
an
like,
extra
the
game,
structure of the
extra home game.
Extra game.
the TV money, the extra game. So
And the 12th man gets your points.
exactly, but they're getting the extra money through just being in the different competitions.
Just being there.
The
they could've
figures
left the
like
prices as they
20
were.
million, 18 million maybe, that you
I've got
get.
the figures, mate, from not Frankie Maguire.
Go on, Frankie.
Frankie goes to
Go on,
Hollywood.
Frankie.
Kieran Maguire. Aston Villa had 18.6 million euros just for qualifying for the Champions League, and we'll get 2.1 million for a draw and that must be a win because he's put
Yeah, I
draw
think it's a
twice.
win, yeah.
2.1 million for a win and 700 grand for a draw in the league phase.
Right.
11 million for getting into the last 16, and in addition they get a share of an 830 million pot linked to prior performance and money put in by TNT.
So
The Villa are fruitful anyway because of
Need-
being
yeah,
in
so
the
any like
competition.
contrarian standpoint, to like you got to pay your way, you got to like Villa. How can they continue succeeding? That's like essentially the same figure as Villa's entire matchday revenue for what 2022,
I bet
2023.
they've earned more money from the Champions League already without playing a game than the whole of the Conference League last year.
100%.
Yeah.
It just
So
goes
the ticket
to
prices could have stayed the same and they'd still be better off.
You can still raise them. You can still we expected
was
it to be
raised, yeah.
high. We expected it to be high, not that high.
What,
Like, we
what
expected
do you have liked? Like the bundle was 86 quid last year for 3.
What's the Claret game like? Is it 78? Where we? I think it's 78. I
Yeah.
think I was speaking to a mate. 78 for Wolves.
78 quid for Wolves? That's the
Okay,
category.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's a separate topic, but
basically a
75,
championship
75 80 quid, and I know it's it's not far off that for season ticket holders, but you're touching 100 quid for someone who isn't lucky enough to be a season ticket holder. 100 quid, yeah, it's bonkers.
Should it even be different?
Oh, I
price
think
between
so.
a season
Because
ticket
I do get it.
It's a premium competition, isn't it? Yeah, this is the elite.
No, I mean,
You're in
like
the
for
elite.
non-season ticket holders and season tickets, should there be a bit discount?
I think
Should be the
they're
same.
shitting on the non-season ticket holder. For me, like, great, I'll pay 20 quid less, but they are shitting on the
Yeah.
general admission fans there who I'm sure would like to have season tickets and can't get them because of the demand. And that's the problem now, is just like, if you don't go, it makes no difference to them because
Yeah.
someone will fill
Yeah,
your
yeah,
seat.
yeah.
And it's not just, general admission and season ticket holders that are getting shafted here. I've got, before Ty's go, I've got mates in corporate who were paying, a few years ago, they were paying 50 grand for what they do in corporate. This season it's 125 grand
For
No
the season.
way.
for the
man.
season. Like the prices are all
125
round.
grand.
They're killing everyone. This started with Purslow. Not so much the greedy
terrace view,
not so
wasn't
much
it?
the greedy aspect of it, but more just the bad decisions. Because look, I'd never have a go at anyone who's gone for the terrace view and that's got a season ticket there, because it was an avenue to get a season ticket. Fine. If I didn't have
They're paying
one
for it as well,
and I
like,
could
do what
afford
you
it,
want,
I'd
yeah.
do exactly the same thing. But from the club, you shouldn't touch the main stand.
Nope.
And from then they've just gone more and more corporate, displacing people from seats, breaking people up, seats not existing. Half the corporate stuff wasn't even open.
And I'll be
for the
honest,
first
mate,
game.
that terrace view, do not be surprised
It's
if that
rubbish.
entire rose glass.
It's rubbish.
Give it 5-10 years. Do not be surprised if that terrace
Yeah.
view is the entire stand long.
Oh, yeah.
But I did a
yeah.
game last season in Terrace View, and all it is you're sitting in the whole end, yes, which is obviously brilliant. I've sat there my whole life. But the concourse aspect of it is just what it should be anyway.
basically.
We get treated like absolute peasants in the... And I know the North Stand's worse, and other stands might be worse. The whole 10, like, the beer options down. The food's atrocious. The service gets worse every year for some reason. I can't work that one out.
Yeah.
You order a beer, and it's like, people have never heard of beer before. It's like,
It's all
what?
panic.
What? It is disgusting.
And
what
a
they
lot
do.
of it is instant to see. You touched on it a minute ago. The videos that we're seeing of the club putting out, talking about the next generation. There's lovely B-roll footage of kids in their Villa scarves and their Villa hats and their Villa tops. We ain't going to see them.
Well-
Why we ain't going to see them? So what's the point? It's just, I'm watching that and I'm thinking that's so insincere. It makes it feel a bit, because I just know it's not true. It's not true. You don't. You might care a little bit about the next generation, but let's be real. That's not. It's not your
Do the
focus.
next generation care about us?
They won't when they
make
can't
it
go to a game.
Do we make? That's what I mean. Do we make it accessible for the next generation to even be involved in this anyway?
No, they'll go and support Man United. They'll say, "Daddy, can I go to Villa one game a year, or can I go to Arsenal or Man City one game a year?" Go to Man City. I know. Like, what's the difference? I don't.
Do you know what else upsetting for me from a podcast standpoint? That this is our first gig together, I think, ever as a five.
Yeah.
But obviously we've all worked together in some capacity, and we all do try and find the negative in situations of where it's been a bit dark. So, like, for example, me and Dan for years would get flack where we would try and find a positive in a game where he probably played really bad. and we have to sit here and talk about negative things. I want to sit here and have a laugh and you know talk about all the good. And it's just sad that we're in a position where we have to say something. You know, we've having platforms where you know you don't say anything, you get headache, and you do say something and you
can't
still get
win. I
headache.
think I don't want to come across as we've got some sort of ego because we're just like everybody else,
not
but
at all.
we do have that sort of responsibility in a way to help voice people
Absolutely.
who
You
don't.
certainly can't get away with not doing anything.
Exactly.
And
And
then there's the other side of it, isn't there, where there's people that will just agree with everything that the club does, and I find it so frustrating. Like, how can you justify some of the stuff they're doing at the moment?
If you don't like it, don't go.
The most
you're
annoying
lucky to
thing-
have a season ticket, blah,
No,
blah,
I'm not
blah.
lucky to have a season
Like-
ticket. No, I am not lucky. I will not hear from anybody. I followed Villa since as in season ticket, since I was 18 years old. I'm 34. There is nothing lucky about me being a season ticket holder. Just because we're in a good place now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you went when we were rubbish.
I went
that's
on.
also the thing,
Listen, anybody who endured Aston Villa on the season we got relegated, you deserve your seat.
This whole waiting list thing's a paper tiger. Like anyone involved in lead generation knows that you can put a survey out for a new McLaren, get 100,000 people saying they buy it, and 4 will.
yeah, that's the thing with the waiting list. The whole 30,000, that's nonsense.
Like if
isn't it?
30,000 people left Villa Park and didn't come back.
Well, how many of those thousands signed up when season tickets were £500?
No, but the
And now
season
have to pay
ticket thing is
800.
pretty weird. So my best friend who I used to live with, he's moved to Dubai now, but he put himself forward when the waiting list had started, and he got a season ticket the year after. Like I find, but my son's been on the waiting list since he was born, and I'm still waiting. He's nearly 6, so you know. But then I'm going to have to move out the Holt just because I don't want to corrupt him with swearing and horrible language.
This is the kind of argument like if you want a premium product, you have to pay the prices.
That's nonsense, though,
not a
isn't it?
premium
Because you
product,
shouldn't,
though.
though. You don't.
You can
No,
lose the
that's not
match as well.
true.
So what does that mean?
It's not true. Like you said, Newcastle, you know, similar place. Villa, it might be a cash cow. This might be the only year we're going to be in the Champions League. Same as Newcastle. There's so many similarities with that. They're nowhere near it now, and they priced a totally reasonable amount, and they're not in trouble with PSR now because of that, are they? I just
Well, they were trying
there's
to
no
buy Gay for
correlation.
70 million, weren't they?
Well, they must be
65.
doing all right.
It's all right. Chelsea can sell 2 hotels though, and it's all good. Do you know what I mean? To
It's
themselves.
just-
Well, I suppose this is part of the frustration, isn't it? There isn't a fairness across the rules when things like that happen. Like the rules aren't fit for purpose. The league isn't the way that transfers are done. There was a lot of frustration away from just it being a Villa problem. But then I always kind of, maybe I'm naive, I always want my club to be different then. I want us to be better.
Yeah,
Like
chance to be better.
everyone else is charging 40 quid for League Cup games. Well, Villa charge 20, then you'd be the outlier to the rest of them. For Villa just to follow suit and go, well, everyone else is doing it, so we'll do the same. No, I want to be different from that.
It's like when Randy, like I'm not saying Randy Lerner was a brilliant owner, because obviously in the end he wasn't, but it was like when they forfeited the sponsorship money to have acorns on the front of the shirt. Like that was Villa being different. Everyone looked at that
Free
and thought,
coaches and
wow,
stuff
fair
as well,
play.
but-
Yeah, fair play to Villa. Like even the wording on the Champions League ticket release was like, but if we have a Carabao and FA Cup game, tickets are only £25. You'll have to pay a year's wages for the Champions League, but the Carabao Cup, if we have a game, only £25.
Can't wait to lose to
throughout
Wickham.
the ground. Like we might not even have a cup game at home, and if we do, so most of the time, to be honest, Robin Olsen's in goal, and you're watching the Rezzies go out and play, aren't you, in the domestic cups? Like,
Yeah, so you're watching a worse product, so it should be a lesser price.
but then we can't really use that argument because we're watching a
Because we've got 2
superior
11s
product.
now.
No.
Yeah, we've just talked about. We've got 211, so it doesn't matter.
No.
I
Apart
don't
from
know.
Olsen.
I just nothing sits right with me at the moment with the club in terms of off the pitch. On the pitch is brilliant. I love it. I love talking about it. I get really happy and excited when I talk about my football club in terms of the progression on the pitch. But they've been sleepwalking to this Champions League disaster off the pitch. They really, really have over the last 18 months.
But for me,
I
it's a
think
little
some
bit.
good. Like Adidas is obviously good. We're now earning more through
Yeah, but
sponsorships.
Some
Again,
of
another
their
reason why we
stuff.
shouldn't have to pay these stupid
this
prices.
whole you know,
We've
making
done our bit. The shirts have been sold in record
Yeah.
numbers.
Yeah.
Like, what
think
more
that's
do you want
enough?
from us?
got new deals, new commercial deals. How many new hospitality stands?
Yeah.
All this is acceptable if you can protect that core fan, which was mentioned in the big interview.
If all that happened and Champions League prices were 50 quid a ticket,
Yeah,
would
even
we go,
60 quid?
fair play.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, 100%.
55 quid Newcastle, probably too cheap.
And
60
that
quid,
should
fine.
be their way of saying this is Villa rewarding the people who have followed Villa through thick and thin. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll say they're doing that with the season ticket holders.
Yeah,
They'll say
like
that
Max
they've
doesn't
done that.
walk around because Max spends his entire life following Villa home and away, and it's not just that he does. He has to book a hotel, he has to edit his videos. His entire life revolves around following following Villa, and it's not. I know for Max, it's absolutely not remotely about how much money he can make from YouTube revenue, because that's just not. I know Max loves the Villa. It is not fair that the failures of the previous hierarchy should be put onto the fans. It shouldn't be. If Dendoncker earns £90,000 a week, as an example, and it's unfair for me to target him, but it's just an easy one to jump on. That isn't a problem of the fans, and it shouldn't be on them to pick up the errors that have been made by previous leadership.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And I love following Villa more than anything. There's so many people out there who think about it Monday to Friday. They look forward to the weekend and they don't think about anything else. Like, I'm not moaning about going to every single game. Like, I know I don't have to. Don't say, don't go to every game. You don't have to. I want to, and I love to do that. It's my passion. It's the one thing that I love more than anything else. And so to just be exploited for that is sickening, and needlessly exploited as well.
If Heck hadn't have even come out and done some of the interviews that he'd done, saying we're finding that we need to look after the general admission and the season ticket holders, our core fan base. If you're going to charge those prices, don't say anything. You know, when you're looking at a league table and then you look on Twitter, you'd think that you're looking at parallel universes where, you know, it's bizarre that you'd think anybody outside of social media, you look at Sky Sports, you look at, you know, the Premier League table and whatnot, you wouldn't go on to social media and expect to see uproar of things going on behind the scenes. I don't think they would have expected. Look, I think they always knew the fans would not be happy with this. Maybe didn't think it would go to the extreme it has, but the fact that
national news
the national media, it's everywhere, isn't it? Like, it's a proper PR disaster.
Journalists have commented on it, man.
Yeah, I don't think they thought it would go that far as it has, but they're going to have to. I mean, they're not going to change it. It isn't going to change now, is it? The money's started to be taken.
How do you do that? Bayern Munich is out. Oh, certainly when this video comes out. If they do say, no, we did get it wrong, well, what were they going to refund everybody? Like
no, just
quid or something?
do the other three games, as it should be. The other three home games, just correct it.
Maybe.
Like, what order of the home games? Juventus, I can't remember. Juventus second or third.
Bologna, Celtic.
Yeah.
They go in order of
So maybe for the last two, as a goodwill gesture, maybe they could take the prices down. But I've got no trust in them to do it. They've shown, but certain people at the club have shown, they're not really bothered.
None of you need to reveal your financial details to me here, but will you all go to all four, do you think?
Yes.
Yeah,
and that's where they've sort of got us, isn't it? I know
Matt Kendrick did a tweet yesterday, or the other day, kind of saying this is bad, brackets, but I'll still go.
Exactly,
that
probably
applies for most people.
We're all part of the problem, but I know if I don't go, someone will have my seat.
Well, yeah, so it doesn't affect the club in any way financially.
And they know that, and that's why they're charging a seat.
Even if nobody bought the tickets and there was a walkout, I have had a very strong stance that I do not think it is fair for us to turn our back on anyone, to walk out early, to prove a point. It is not fair on the hard work that has been done on that pitch for the world to see, and our name to rise through the ranks in respect, as opposed to a laughing stock which we've been through. For it to be taken out on them, like, is part of the money's going on players' wages, whatever. So what? It shouldn't. It isn't fair for what's going on off the field to affect what's going on the field. I really, something does need to be done 100%, and it's very clear that our voices aren't enough. It's hard to get buy-in with stuff like that, though, isn't it? Because
you've got to do something, though.
I know, but I don't.
Even if it's just
I don't know what the answer is, but
just take it individually.
Well, sure, is like a chant enough? Like, is that rather than like turning? I agree, turning the back on the players.
That's wrong.
Yeah,
pointless. I get it's not going to be on TV and it's a visual thing that people will see, but I think people will see it as all those Villa fans are idiots. Like, they won't see it for like the good cause that it is intended to be. They'll be, well, Emery's done a great job. Why are they turning their backs? I don't think that looks good anyway. I mean, a penny for on Emery's thoughts, by the way.
Yeah, it goes against everything he says.
He will be asked about it at the next presser, whether that's by a local one or
he shouldn't know
a national journal.
He shouldn't have to answer those questions.
It's such a big story, and managers get asked stuff all the time that they shouldn't have to answer to. It should be the people above them that have made the decisions. But Emery makes a point, as we all know, of thanking supporters in every single interview.
At the start, no matter what he's asked, 100%. It's the first thing he says every time.
There's a massive kind of connection between manager, players and fans, and they want that because it's important, as we all know. But then when the people that are above you, that are also paying your wage as well, and they're your bosses, have gone, let's charge what we want. Emery must be really conflicting for him. And I don't know how he will answer those questions. So he's not going to come out and say, oh yeah, it's bad.
He's just going to say he respects the fans, isn't he? He's like, he shouldn't have to deal with it.
Yeah.
He's not going to say,
there's not much he can say. He's not going to criticise the club, and he will defend the fans to an extent, saying he understands the frustration, I guess. But he shouldn't come to him. He's not the person that should be answering questions. Like I said earlier, the club can't, unless they reverse it, they can't put a statement out. That's just not going to happen. They've got to make the decision to reverse it to kind of communicate with us, and it's just that's the only way. And I can't see them doing anything with it. It's almost like if Heck changes this now, like, does he see himself as being weak? Like there will be a justification in the club's mind of why they have done this.
Let's be positive about the Champions League very quickly. Obviously, it's still a massive deal. As much as we said before about, like, it feels a bit tainted, it's still massive that Villa are in the Champions League. None of us would have expected this to happen in our lifetimes, especially you, Dan. Getting on a bit.
We've nearly done it a few times, haven't we?
I mean, I'm not quite sure how good that camera quality is, but Danny's looking substantially more grey than when the last time I seen him.
Yeah, it's
stress,
those
graphics we made did him some favours. Not a
did
single
you
grey
favours
hair.
as well? Those graphics,
Just to put it out there as well for people who are watching, this isn't going to be a negative thing every month that we do one. We're not really like that, but they're topics that we obviously have to really cover.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so the other ones for the coming months will be a lot more positive and hopefully more banter filled and not all doom and gloom about ticket prices.
Yeah, but we are all genuinely upset by it. Like,
no, I know. But I'd much rather have been ripping you for an hour than moaning about ticket prices.
Naturally.
But yeah, we're really excited for the Champions League. Yeah,
you too, because obviously you'll go to. I hope to get to one or two aways if I can. But you definitely will be at every single one.
Living the dream, aren't we? Really?
I hope that I'm included in the allocate. I've been to them all.
I think you'll be rewarded on going to the Conference League games because spending the money to go abroad with Villa beats everything for me. Unless you have a executive season ticket and then you get maximum away points, which I think is a disgrace, by the way. Sorry, one more thing before we get positive. I think it's an absolute disgrace that people should jump the away queue. I think the whole closed shop thing is nonsense because if you think it's a closed shop and away games, I look forward to seeing you at Wickham.
I've not been to any and I went to all the away.
It's so doable, and I look forward to seeing you at Newcastle on Boxing Day. But that's a disgrace. You should be rewarded for loyalty, going away and spending your hard-earned money that you work Monday to Friday for. So that's a joke.
That message was so cloak and dagger. That screenshot, like, I presume it's true. That screenshot. I've seen different iterations of it as well.
It's like having a cheat in Alamay Manager 2002 when you had King Midas unlimited money cheat. It's like they've put a cheat code in.
You've got money. You're better than him with loyalty.
You put a cheat code in and got maximum away points. Like,
mental.
What would happen if all the corporate people took that up? Then would you? And you could. Let's say you.
Then the away end behind people, everyone eating prawn sandwiches and no one singing.
Well, say it's 150 odd seats or 200 seats. That's a half the majority of the Mostar allocation.
Well, yeah.
So in that cage, I had a sausage in the car, hot dog in the car wash. That was the end.
You had a hot dog in a car wash?
Yeah, it was the corner of the Mostar Stadium was a car wash in the day.
So you wasn't in a car wash having a hot dog.
Okay, let me
clear that up, Jammer.
The corner of the Mostar Stadium is a car wash in the day. It's like Batman, Bruce Wayne at day. At night, it's a barbecue.
What?
They get the cars.
I love Zrinski Rasta so much.
It's the greatest place in the world. But like that would have been filled with corporate seats if it was the hospitality. So enjoy the cage, and I wasn't in. I snuck out. I didn't like the cage.
I loved the terrifying. I loved the cage and the Portaloos and the dogs greeting us as we got on the coach, and I was just like, bloody hell.
Which trip are you looking forward to the most in the car?
What do you reckon?
That's a good question.
I think Monaco, just because it's Monaco.
For you to spend all your hard-earned YouTube
in the casino, it's the hardest one to get to though. The other ones like Germany and Belgium, there's easier ways to get there, but that one, I think it's just Nice is the only way you can fly to that's relatively close, and then it's like half an hour on a train. But all of them, and just hearing that music and.
Slightly different music now.
Slightly different music.
I haven't heard it still.
It's basically the same.
As a more seasoned guy who likes the simpler things in life, Switzerland for me, man.
Yes,
It's in the Alps.
I mean, the money you're going to spend, I do genuinely feel sorry for you.
Yeah. But how are you getting there? Where are you flying to?
I forgot.
Basel. Yeah, we're going to Basel as well. Yeah. But then I know people are flying to Geneva and whatever, so there's plenty of options. So tune into Villa on Talks, it's going to be good.
Yeah, the Mostar one you did. The views.
Class, man.
Yeah, I'll watch that. I don't watch everyone, but I will watch.
That was Oscar.
Didn't need that start bit. Just say you watched that. Like, that's fine.
Good trips, good music.
Those are the videos that I just love producing, like
Yeah.
more than anything else, just the European trips, because they're so unique. Like each one will have its own quirk, and the new cities that you go to that's different, and the beer tasted crap in Lille, just little things like that. Just it's just brilliant. Love it.
They're the most excited. What games you're excited to go to? What game are you most excited to watch?
I think that Bayern one.
fixtures
It's got to be the Bayern one. That first one at Villa Park, and I think, fingers crossed, we give them a proper good game and show what we're made of. Going
History
up against the
there
best.
as well. Yeah.
It's good that one's first.
Class.
The biggest one being first. Like, I quite like the new format.
I do.
Yeah.
I think that plays into our
It's
hands a little
enjoyable.
bit as well.
It's
The
very-
new format. Like, I think we'll qualify because I think we'll get top 24, and I think in the two-legged tie, even though we had struggled away from home at times last season, the Conference League, I think us having that year in Europe last year will do us the world of good. That's why I look at us as being different to Newcastle, and the fact that we've got Emery as well, who's just a master at this kind of thing. He'll have looked at this new Champions League format, and he'll just have something in his head. He'll have come up with something to navigate this new Champions League format, because that's what he does, isn't it?
You don't need that many points either to
No.
get
No.
through to it.
Yeah, I think
That
it's
10
it's
something.
better for us this format than
Yeah.
perhaps the same group
Yes.
each being drawn in the
Yeah.
old format.
Yeah.
Like we might not have went through.
Yeah.
I think we'll get to
Potentially.
the round of 16. Is it the one after the playoff thing? I think
I
that's where
think
we'll
there's
get
every
to.
chance. I really do.
At your live event, when admittedly I'd had a few beers, I said semi-finals, didn't I? That was my big prediction for the
stand
new
by
I
it.
season.
just think though, if we get that far, Villa might give us a pin badge or something. A pen.
Do you stand by semis?
Why not? I just think why not?
You don't know, do you?
Because Emery did it with Villarreal. That's the thing. That was what I based that on. Was
And
that
beat some
Emery
good
got
teams.
Villarreal?
Did you see
to
the team that we used when he lost to Liverpool? Did you see the team that he had?
I haven't seen, but I know he used to do some
Mad.
niche things.
Yeah,
Like
mad.
Coquelin playing like Cal McGinn players making a box
yeah.
midfield and
Mad
Capoue.
team.
Things like that.
Messi and Capoue.
Like that's why I think that's what in a way like being in the Champions League is more exciting because of the manager that we've got.
Oh, yeah,
that's what
100%.
excites me more.
Yeah.
Because he just knows what he's doing.
And it's not like we'll have 8 games and see what happens. It is like a genuine, we could
European
get through to
football
this and we
is
could.
his playground.
Yeah, yeah.
Has everyone bought the shirt with the Champions League patch on?
Of
like?
course.
Not yet.
Have you not done it? I've got to say, even just having a shirt with the Champions League
Yeah.
patch on,
I've
he's
got an
like,
away shirt sale if you're interested, mate.
What size?
got a barrel of chow on the back.
Large. Yes.
If it was Kappa, I'd be out, but I'm fairly interested in how it fits.
It's 100 quid, mate. So
Yeah, I'm gonna be able to go to,
119 after 10% season ticket discounts.
you got to think about this.
Yeah, and then I
I
bought
can
2
either
of
go
the
to the
quarter
shirt
zips
or I
as
can
well.
go to Juventus.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
It was a 250 quid trip to a shop just on me, and then I had to buy my son kit as well. Ugh.
I'd bought the training shirt, the green one. Did you have the green
Yeah,
one?
yeah.
I bought it in a large before
The
you
long
told
sleeve one.
Yeah, before you told me it was slim fit.
Yeah.
So I sent it back. That's why £7 to send it back, by the way.
Did you try it on first?
No, I just bought it. I just had it delivered.
Yeah, it
I was-
hugs-
I was-
it
so I
hugs
thought-
the gut,
I thought
man.
large would be fine because large is everything, but it's slim fit. So yeah.
I always get fatter in summer, so I put it on a large. It looked all right, but
It's all-
as
yeah,
it stood,
yeah.
it was one of them things where I can't wear it until I start running again. So, yeah, I went for an XL. just to
But
be
still
safe.
no stock. Only extra small available
It's
in that
terrible,
now.
that is.
2 weeks.
In the store? Or
Online. I ain't been to the store since.
Apparently,
the
Simon went to the shop and said it was
I've been-
really,
I've been-
really
No,
poor.
have you not been
I
yet?
went
for
Oh,
it.
it's unreal.
It
Store's
was
good.
yeah. But
It's
there was
unreal.
still no stock when I went.
It's very nice.
Yeah, what's the point in having a great shop if there's nothing to buy?
One thing that's really fun, you pointed it out to me, to be fair, and I went in and looked specifically for
Oh,
it.
it's just the
In
badges
all
and
of the
stuff,
classic
yeah.
shirts, they've covered every sponsor on every shirt. So, like the Luke shirt
Yeah.
is covered by a ticket of
Like a
the
match
player
program
final.
across the Reebok
Yeah.
logo and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah, just funny.
Why is there an Olsen shirt in there, by the way? Whose idea was that?
European game. It's the only one I could find, I guess.
And he was one of the main factors we lost that Olympiacos tie. But don't worry, it's in a glass cage. Don't worry about it. It's fine.
This ain't making episode 2, is it?
Oh, good. Yeah, well, I'd like to do episode 2. What I want to end with is a little game.
I love it.
yes.
Little game I've prepared. Well, I say I've prepared. I've nicked it from somebody else, and we can come back to this maybe on episode 2 if we get recommissioned. It's called Villa Blackjack. So we had a YouTube comment from Daniel Harley who said, "I'm playing a game of Premier League blackjack with friends this season, where you have to pick 4 Premier League players with the aim of getting to 21 goals throughout the season. If one of your players scores 0, you lose. So you can't pick like a top scorer and a goalkeeper, unless you think a goalkeeper will score. And if you go over 21, like blackjack, you bust, you lose.
Oh, what a game.
That's good.
Good game, that.
Being Villa obsessed, I've gone with 4 Villa players that I'm not going to tell you now because we're going to play this ourselves. We're going to make this Villa related, obviously.
Yeah.
So we're going to pick each, or as a group.
Villa only.
Villa only, 4 players. I mean, that does limit the options a bit, I suppose.
We have to, because think about it. If there's 4 players between
No, we can
us-
pick the same players though. Just
Are we allowed to
I
pick the
guess.
same
Yeah,
players?
it's a bit
Oh, I
same
thought it was
players,
like a
but-
draft where you had to
Yeah,
do
no,
it.
no, no.
So you have to end up bang on 21, basically.
Yeah,
you can't go
21
over.
Premier League goals.
What
you
does
can't
it when
go
you get a
over.
claret and blue mug?
Yeah, you couldn't pick goalkeepers because if they don't score, you also lose.
I know, but if you just pick what
Every player has to get at least one.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah. Okay.
So, all right, I'll go Watkins.
It's brave, that is.
Yeah.
No, you carry on, mate.
That's
no
one.
backtracking now.
So I'm still thinking. I'll go Rodgers. I think Rodgers 10-ish. Bailey.
Watkins having an ACL here. What's going on?
Might get injured, though, Roller.
Rodgers, Bailey, Dean,
Oof.
and Kamara.
Wow. Has Dean or Kamara scored against? I'm just chatting, man.
Just agree.
So
Well done, Dan.
Kamara and Dean's get one each, and and Rodgers and Bailey to get 18 between them.
I love how you're giving us some Dan Rollo expected XG.
Expected blackjack, yeah.
JJ, Powell, I'll go Rodgers as well, and I'll go Matson.
Bailey, Ramsey, McGinn, Conser.
Take a breath, Dan. Go a bit slow, mate.
Say that again, Bailey.
Bailey, Ramsey, McGinn, Conser. Conser never scores. But maybe you'll get one.
Yeah.
I fancy
thinking
Conser to score more
flying
than
in the back
Torres.
I'm thinking he'll get one. McGinn and Ramsey maybe around 5 each, and Bailey 10 is my.
Neither of us have picked Onana and Duran yet, but we'll go from now. So like, if you pick Onana or Duran, you're not already on two.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
So we'll go from goals from now onwards.
Okay, nice.
I'll do Onana then. Say he gets like.
That's going to be his 2 for the season, isn't it?
Nah,
Just your
I
luck.
hope not. Onana, Rodgers, John McGinn. So what am I on there then? And then
He's got 3 or 4 in the platter, hasn't
Yeah, and then someone like.
He doesn't score that many goals.
McGinn got 6 or 7 in
And
the
then
Premier League.
Tielemans.
Yeah. In the
I think that
Prem.
might be a little bit low, but
What if he's a penalty taker?
yeah, it's a good point actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'll take that then because I think that might be a little bit low.
Okay.
Same
So
again. Onana, McGinn.
Onana, McGinn, Rodgers, and Tielemans.
Duran, Onana, Dean, and Cash.
So after saying neither of us
It's
have
two
gone for Duran and
fullbacks.
Onana, you've
Wow.
gone both.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, you can give me the 4 as well. give
Sensational.
me the goals.
Good game though. Come back to that.
Game.
Well, that's good.
We'll check in as we go for each month. We'll see how everyone's getting
Forfeit for the loser, or I don't want to play.
Oh, yeah. I like that game. This is a very good game, Roller.
Put some forfeit suggestions in the YouTube comments.
That's better.
Yeah,
Yeah,
interaction.
that's a good idea.
Good engagement.
And then just a collective one for the loser, and then
Good process.
most like comment.
on.
Or
Can
we'll
anyone
decide.
still watching at this point?
Probably not.
Right, thanks for everyone for watching or listening to this episode of the Villa Social, the first of the season. We'll see you all again in October.
Yay.
Bye, everyone.